Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. I'm recording this toward the end of 2024, and this has been a theme that every year for the last, I was just thinking about the last 6 years, starting with 2019. And each one of these years has had a negative theme associated with it. And I'm going to get to what I think the theme of 2025 is going to be. But let's start at 2019. The main theme of 2019 was that I had a girlfriend at the time, and I was getting ready to propose to her. In fact, I had a date set up to do that. I was thinking of doing it on December 21st, 2020, when Jupiter and Saturn would come into conjunction. And I was so messed up because I didn't want to conclude my time as a single guy. Life was great as a single guy back then for me, because you got to remember, this was before the pandemic, when you could still mess around with other people. Right nowadays, ever since the pandemic, people have been a lot more on guard. And at the time, it didn't seem to bother me that my financial situation didn't seem to bother me that much. The fact that I had to do everything on one income didn't seem to bother me. I lived out of my car for 6 months out of every year. I don't think I would want to do that anymore nowadays. I don't know. This is Seattle as well, where it wasn't too uncomfortable to do that. And I traveled to Macau and then Taiwan that year. At the time, I remember trying to enjoy it as my last trip as a single guy. And then obviously, we all know what happened in 2020 to change all of that. 2020 actually wasn't so bad for me. I didn't have too many negative themes going on. The main theme of 2020 was moving out to the Rocky Mountains and enjoying having some space in between myself and other people, because I have anxiety problems. And the main challenge in 2020 was that I really love my in-person work, and that was a big adjustment. That was the main negative theme of 2020. But you know what? I moved to Wallace, Idaho. I distinctly remember, because the cost of living in Wallace was so cheap, and also I didn't have to commute, I distinctly remember when I got an email saying that we're sorry, your pay has been cut and all that. I remember thinking, no, this is a big raise. I have more time and no commute. The real problem was that we were told to return to the office, and we didn't get that money back. That was 2021 was when I really got a pay cut. 2020 was actually a raise. And kind of interest. Not only that, 2021, not only did I have to return all the expenses of returning to the office, you got to remember how much those expenses went up in between 2020 and 2021 as well. That's when I really got the pay cut. The main theme of 2021 was obviously return to the office, anxiety problems, having to go back to the anxiety-inducing situations of actually seeing people. And then in 2022, I ran into workplace toxicity at a job in Seattle, and then one here in Phoenix. And then at the end of 2022, I landed the job at the community college where I now teach, Maricopa colleges. I started at Phoenix College, but they've got budget cuts. Now I'm in Glendale. The main theme of 2023 was burnout. Because you got to remember, I had just left a very toxic job. I didn't want to ever be in that situation again. And so I ramped up my art career, and I took on more jobs than I really wanted to at 2 different community colleges, and then at a bunch of tutoring gigs and another tutoring center. And I got myself seriously burnt out at the time. And now looking back, I really regret it, because as much as I talk about difficulties in relationships, when I look back at 2023, I can't even count with one. I need 2 hands to count how many times there was a potential I could have asked a girl out on a date, and I didn't, and I missed out on the opportunity, in large part because my mind was a million miles an hour, juggling 3 jobs, art gigs, and then a bunch of random tutoring gigs. And then we come into 2024, and finally I start settling down. you got to remember, when I first started my job at Phoenix College, when I took other jobs, they were kind of like insurance in case Phoenix College ever became toxic, right? I didn't have that insurance when I was working at the Kumon or the other tutoring centers, and as a result, I often had to put up with a lot of shit that I really shouldn't have. For example, earlier today, something happened at work, and I just outright said no. Right? Oh, I couldn't remember. I had a boss who was pushing me to do all this training, but it's Christmas time, and I'll find time to do it, but I'm not going to jump onto it, right? And I straight up just told him, I got family commitments. And I left it. I didn't even go on to say what the family commitments were, right? I didn't have the capital to do that when I was working at the Kumon. And so when I started Phoenix College, I made sure to always have 3, 4, 5 gigs that go on at the same time as insurance. Unfortunately, I had all this great insurance, but oftentimes I scarcely could afford to pay the premiums, right? That's what I mean by burnout. But going into 2024, I finally dropped all those insurance policies and I felt good, except I was feeling a lot of heartbreak during this time. I would, let me give you an example of what I mean by heartbreak. In next month, I'll have 2 different assignments. One in Glendale, the other in Apache Junction. They're 45 miles apart, and it wouldn't be so bad, except that I only have one income to pay for my housing and all the other expenses that I have, right? And it's really frustrating because one day some people who talk to me don't even realize the privilege they're in. I was talking to my colleague about how much car insurance has gone up despite me not having any accidents. How's your car insurance rates going? Have you been shopping around? And he goes, oh, it's not so bad. We have 2 cars and yeah, because you're married, right? Imagine you have to pay all of that by yourself. Not only that, but another thing married people often don't think about is that they have more room to take risk. You and your wife both make, let's imagine that, I won't say how much I made, but let's imagine I married somebody who was making exactly as much as I made, right? And we both go to work. Imagine it's the same job, or it could be a different job, right? There's a lot more room to take risk, right? Your boss wants you to do training on Christmas Day. Ha ha, right? If you only have one income, you might not feel so comfortable doing that, right? A lot of married people don't think about that privilege, right? I just wanted to point that out. Also, I got COVID-19. It was summertime. It was really hot, and I had to take care of myself, right? And so I tried to go back to the dating world again. I ran into a lot of drama. I live with the owner of the house and one other roommate, and I was so heartbroken that my room became a disaster. It's not hard to do that, by the way. And my landlord was so upset, threatening to kick me out, screaming at the top of her lungs. And meanwhile, I cleaned it up within half an hour, apologized. In fact, she was getting ready for bed. I said, do you want to come over and see? I just wanted to make sure you get a good night's sleep. And she came to look at my room, make sure everything's okay. She thought that she was worried about, I didn't have any food in there, but she thought she was worried about insects and all that. She said, she's selling the house in 6 months. She doesn't need all this drama, And I half-jokingly said to her, now this is where money and privilege come into play. I got a lot of money saved up, and if I really did get kicked out, it'd be an inconvenience. It wouldn't be total chaos. So I half-jokingly said to my landlord, if you could set me up on a date, maybe I'll feel better and I won't make such a mess. And she was very non-understand. I didn't expect her to actually set me up. I was trying to let her know what was going on in a funny way, but she didn't take humor in that. Finally, now that I have a girlfriend, she came over for dinner the other night, and as we were eating dinner, my landlord came over to see, and I again half-jokingly said to her, I apologize for what happened last 2 months ago. I was just out of it. I'm feeling better now, and I gestured that it was because of the situation with the girl. And finally did she digest it all, right? And it's just maddening that society kicks you when you're down. It kicks you when you don't have money. It kicks you when you don't have love. It kicks you when you don't have good health. It kicks you when you don't have status. It's just really maddening. It's not even so much about me anymore. It's about the kind of culture that I want to live in. And I think 2025, I'm in a big jam right now. I was so upset about looking at my housing situation. I got to move out because the landlord's selling the place, and I looked at how many things would open up if only I had a second income about as much as I make, right? And it makes me. I'm just about to see my girlfriend after this video. It makes me almost just want to propose to her on the spot, but at the same time, I realize that's a really dumb decision to do too, right? So the main theme about 2025 is probably going to be the battle of, do I need that two incomes more, or do I need the dramas that may come with the marriage more, right? That's probably going to be a big theme of the chapter of 2025, right? Unfortunately, I've had six really bad chapters, and I'm just about to see if that seventh chapter. I haven't had a good year since 2018, and even that one probably wasn't that great, right? 2018 was mostly marked by I was really enjoying single life at the time. I took a lot of trips to go stargazing. I don't know if you guys remember, and I won 5 gold medals at the Computer Olympiad. But there was a lot of career uncertainty. I just started my job at Washington Technology University, which turned out to be a flop, but it became a segue to what I now do. So I don't know if I want to call that a positive or a negative. This is the Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum. Bum 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 bum. The Peter Dislike Show. Bum 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 bum.